excuse us because of all these technical problems we have had, so everybody could join. And now we start this webinar. We are all of us waiting for and looking forward to. And I would like to start by introducing this theme, the whole webinar, and I'm going to share the screen just for a few moments. So, welcome to this webinar that has as a title, Mexico, Increasing Gender-Based Violence and Increasing Feminist Protests. México, una violencia de género en aumento y un aumento también de las protestas feministas. So we are having 3 Mexican activists that are going to speak about their experiences, the situation regarding this situation of violence, as well as about all these enormous protests that are taking place in Mexico today. We have Norma Don Juan, who is from an organization of indigenous women, CONAMI, in Mexico. Maru Romero, Equidad de Género, Ciudadanía, Trabajo y Familia, and Gadi Garcia from the same organization. So this webinar is organized by several organizations. One of them is GADIP, of course, Gender and Development in Practice, together with Y Plus that helps us with the technical issues. And then we have a Gothenburg University, in which we have the open seminars for Latin America at the department of the School of Global Studies. We have the Association of Ayotzinapa in Sweden, and then Chile Despertó as well. Chile Despertó, which is a youth organization, and then ABF. So all these organizations have contributed to the to this webinar. And I just wanted to give you as well some facts. Why is this important and why Mexico? Because Mexico is one of the most violent countries in the world. Around 10 to 11 women are killed in Mexico every day. And just during 2020, we had more than or about 3,000 women killed. 2,874 was given as a figure last week. And 66% of women older than 15 years old have suffered some kind of gender-based violence, according to several statistics. And domestic violence and criminal violence are the ones that are really hitting women in Mexico. In the last years, there have been enormous protests, especially in the last 3 years, to react against this. And I wanted to start also with this, with this very short clip that plays what happened last week in Mexico. Mm. So, well, this is
Edme, we should share the screen, but not just like your laptop. I think the other one.
sorry, this didn't work as I had thought. Bueno, lo que quería decir es esa situación. Tenemos una situación muy grave, lo digo en español ahora, donde tenemos en México entre 10 y 11 mujeres asesinadas a diario y un promedio de 3,000 feminicidios este año. Entonces ahora le doy la palabra a nuestras panelistas y yo les voy a pedir también que se presenten a sí mismas y un poco lo que hace su organización para que conozcamos más lo que se está llevando a cabo en México. Así que por favor, queríamos empezar con Gadi.
Sí, gracias. Gracias por la invitación también. Es para mí un honor estar con ustedes hoy. Mi nombre es Gadi Aleli Dircio Chautla. Yo soy de un municipio del estado de Guerrero en la Ciudad de México que se llama Chilapa. Mi trabajo se enfoca a realizar acompañamientos, canalización, atención y asesoría a mujeres indígenas de esta zona de la montaña de Guerrero, mujeres indígenas náhuatl, y también mi trabajo es en crear
Puedo decir
redes
lo que
con
acabas de decir,
jóvenes.
sí. She comes from this Equidad de Género and she is working especially with indigenous women in one part of the country from this organization. Okay.
Mi trabajo se enfoca en crear redes de jóvenes que den asesoría y acompañamiento sobre temas de derechos sexuales y reproductivos y liderazgos femeninos.
So she's working with networks on leadership projects with young people and with women.
Entonces inicio con mi presentación.
Mm-hmm.
Pues buenos días y buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos escuchan a través de este ciberespacio. Es la primera vez que digo buenos días y buenas tardes, es la primera vez que doy esta presentación a través de a través internacional. Nunca lo había hecho y estoy muy contenta porque quiero compartirles experiencias vividas que creo que les servirán a muchas de ustedes para futuras investigaciones. Estoy segura que es posible.
Thank you very much. And this is the first time I say it and the first time I participate in such an international webinar. And I think I can share experiences that can be useful for many of you.
Bueno, como les comentaba, yo vivo en Chilapa de Álvarez, Guerrero, México. Este lugar es un lugar conocido por ser la puerta a la montaña. Chilapa tiene acceso por muchas vías carreteras que conectan entre pueblos de diferentes municipios que dan acceso a la montaña. Y este espacio en otros tiempos era, con esta facilidad carretera, era gran ventaja para la población, sobre todo porque facilitaba el comercio entre las poblaciones.
So I live in a small place in Guerrero, which is the southern part of Mexico. And this is a very special place because it is a place of communications, that it was the entrance to some part of the region in Guerrero.
Fue hace aproximadamente como hace 10 años atrás, cuando esta situación empezó a transformarse de un espacio seguro y concurrido por los turistas a volverse un espacio catalogado como uno de los lugares más inseguros a causa del crimen organizado.
It was about 10 years ago when it turned the situation from being a place that was quite sure, it was quite safe for people, especially for tourists, to become a place that is plagued by violence.
Pero aquí la pregunta importante es, ¿cómo afecta esta situación a las mujeres específicamente? La respuesta, pues, básicamente es que nos afecta de todas las formas que se puedan imaginar, todas sin excepción, yo diría.
And how does this affect women in particular? There are several ways in which they are affected.
Enlisto una serie de circunstancias por las cuales he pasado junto con mi familia y comparto mi experiencia. Sin embargo, estoy segura que todas las familias de esta región o de Chilapa han vivido o están viviendo actualmente al menos una de estas situaciones.
I will share my experience in the one of my family, but I'm sure this is the same experience of several other families.
El crimen organizado ha desintegrado familias, entre ellas a la mía. Se destruye una familia en cuanto le arrebatan la vida de un ser querido que la integra, y más si esta persona es proveedor de la economía del hogar.
So the organized crime destroys families by killing people within the family, especially when they are the main providers of the family.
Para los medios de comunicación, los hombres son el foco de sus notas. Sin embargo, nadie habla de las mujeres, de las viudas, de los niños. ¿Qué impacto tiene esto en el interior del hogar? Eso no se lo preguntan los medios de comunicación, ni tampoco hay investigaciones que tengan como eje central este tema. ¿Cómo se transforma la vida de las mujeres una vez que viven este proceso? Y ahora, ¿cómo le harán ellas porque van a tomar las riendas del hogar? ¿Y cómo van a hacerle para generar dinero y mantener a los hijos? Son como de las preguntas que nos llevan a la reflexión en este contexto.
So what happens with women when men are heated and they have to take the control of the situation? What happened with the children? What happened with the families when they have to assume this situation? Most press and mass media has focused on the men, but not on the women behind these tragedies.
Bueno, pues lo que pasa en estos casos es lo siguiente. La mayoría de las mujeres se adentran al comercio informal como la venta de comida en las calles, lavar ropa ajena, trabajar en casa. Y ahora con la pandemia, todos estos espacios que eran, por ejemplo, las cocinas económicas, han cerrado. Entonces, las mujeres quedamos en una situación de desventaja porque no hay empleo y tenemos que generar ingresos. Entonces, lo que hacen es emprender un negocio, pues un negocio para lo cual tienen que pedir un préstamo en las casas de empeño o casas de préstamo. Y esto les genera pagar altos porcentajes de interés, pero nadie habla de eso.
So what do they do when they are hit by this situation and also by COVID, when they cannot continue their informal activities like selling food in the streets or working in domestic cleaning, etc. So they have to go to other activities and they have to loan money but this is to very high interest rates. And they have to see how they manage with this.
No se habla de esto porque nuestras necesidades no son prioritarias para el gobierno. Se habla de combatir el narcotráfico, pero no se habla de la pobreza que genera y cómo sobreviven las mujeres ahora que se vuelven el sostén de su casa.
So neither the press, mass media, nor the government gives any attention to this because this is not priority for them. What happens with these women and all these economic problems, not only by COVID, but also by the criminal organizations' violence.
No obstante a esto, las familias que hemos vivido alguna situación de inseguridad o que hemos perdido un familiar, nos volvemos también como centro de atención de estos grupos de crimen organizado. porque a pesar de ya haber arrebatado la vida de uno de nuestros familiares, lo que hacen es extorsionar a las mismas familias, pidiéndoles dinero a cambio de que estén a salvo o sanos, pero porque saben quiénes están ahí, cómo los contactan. Esto le pasó a mis sobrinos, les mandaron un mensaje vía Facebook exigiéndoles una cantidad de dinero bajo la amenaza de que si no se los entregaban les iba a pasar lo mismo que a sus papás. Sus papás perdió la vida igual al mismo tiempo que el mío y en las mismas circunstancias.
So they continue these organized criminal groups to try to get money from the families they have already harmed. They have already aggressed, like killing some part of the family. They still continue to try to get money, press for money from these families, from the members of these families, from her nephews. Once they had killed also the father of these nephews, etc. They continue.
Yo hice en este caso un reporte a la policía cibernética, los contacté porque como este fue un caso de extorsión vía red social, hice una solicitud pero nunca me contestaron. Por eso digo que además de vivir estas experiencias, nosotras no tenemos garantizado nada por parte del gobierno, al menos una estabilidad.
So I tried to make this public, especially I contacted the cybernetic police office, and I tried to, I wrote to them, I never got any answer from them.
Las personas que hemos perdido un familiar en esta causa de crimen organizado, vemos con tristeza el lado cruel de la sociedad por la falta de empatía que también nos lastima. Porque además del dolor de la pérdida de un ser querido, vivimos ante la indiferencia de las personas. Y esto es más lamentable porque las personas se burlan, hablan de ello como si fuera algo que la gente se merece. Y sobre todo porque se cree que todas las personas que mueren a causa del crimen organizado es porque en automático están ligados a estos grupos, lo cual es falso. Por eso yo creo que es importante hacer una reflexión de cuáles son los casos que se viven, cómo se viven, quiénes son las personas. Y los medios de comunicación lo resumen solamente como un ajuste de cuentas.
So I think to all these problems, we have the lack of empathy of the public in general, because they think that all the families that have been suffering from this are linked to the organized crime. They think they are guilty of this, and they don't have any kind of solidarity with us. So we are fighting against this, and we are fighting against this kind of empathy, this kind of this indifference from the public.
Esta tendencia sobre generalizar todos los casos es otra forma de violencia hacia las familias que hemos perdido a un ser querido. Y nadie piensa en cómo nosotras las mujeres también vivimos una situación enferma al respecto, porque vivimos en un momento triste, pero sobre todo nadie habla de cómo estamos enfermas tanto física y emocionalmente. No hay un programa gubernamental que atienda nuestros casos. Mi madre y yo y mis hermanas, mis sobrinas, somos clientes frecuentes del centro médico y el diagnóstico fue estrés postraumático.
So we are all these women, we are suffering a lot. We are traumatized. And for example, my mother and me and many other women go to the health services, and we get the same kind of diagnosis, which is post-traumatic stress.
Otra forma en el aspecto laboral en cómo nos afecta esta situación es, por ejemplo, en mi caso, nosotras en 2014 abrimos una casa de atención a la mujer indígena. Este espacio brinda acompañamiento para las mujeres embarazadas o en situación de violencia de género y está atendido por parteras y promotoras de salud, quienes desde sus comunidades se desplazan hacia Chilapa para realizar esta labor social.
We have also opened a house to take care of women, and this is a house for women that have some kind who are victims of domestic violence, and this is attended by social promoters or promotoras, social workers that try to get in touch with these women.
Sí, sin embargo, nuestras compañeras ya no pueden desplazarse de sus comunidades porque los transportes se han limitado en horarios y en días. En consecuencia, pues yo veo con tristeza cómo las mujeres ya no pueden trabajar de manera organizada como en otros años y cómo es que han quedado viudas también a causa de estas situaciones y cómo sus parejas están trabajando dentro de sus comunidades como policía comunitaria y esto, mientras ellos hacen este servicio que es obligatorio por un año, ellas tienen que proveer los alimentos necesarios para mantenerlos a ellos y a sus familias.
So many of these women that used to come to this house that is in Chilapa are no longer coming because the transports are not working as they should. And also these women have to stay in their communities and help also their husbands who are in the communitarian police. And they have to provide food for this police, for all these people working there.
A términos de conclusión, yo solamente quisiera comentar que este desorden social orienta a la mujer a construirse desde sus únicas posibilidades que son dentro del hogar y que no tenemos tiempo para enfocarnos en otros aspectos más que la supervivencia. Por lo tanto, dejamos nula nuestra participación en la incidencia dentro de las políticas públicas que atiendan las demandas específicas de las personas que hemos sido víctimas de esta situación del crimen organizado. Por lo tanto, no puede haber una transformación social real si no hay investigaciones que evidencien la realidad que se vive en estas regiones.
So all these women, because of this situation, we have no possibility, no time to involve in political issues, so we cannot change the situation as it is today. And we have absolutely no incidence in the making of these policies. We are totally neglected.
Y además de la transformación del espacio, solamente quería comentar que como también el tiempo es importante, las mujeres ya no tenemos tiempo para hacer vida social, sino solamente para sobrevivir.
So women have no time to network, to socialize. The only thing they have time is to try to survive in these circumstances.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Gadi. Vamos después a regresar contigo. Ahora vamos con Maru. Now we are going to the next panelist, Maru Romero, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation and I'm very glad to be with you because I had the opportunity to be in month about 20 years ago at the center in Lulio. It was a very great experience. I always remember happily. Well, my name is María Eugenia Romero. Maru Romero is like my nickname, and I've been a feminist for over 30 years now. I've been working on creating networks and also promote leadership in Mexico, all over the country. And I'm a member of the Pro-Choice Alliance in Mexico, and I've been working with like several feminists along the region for many, many years. I'm also a member of the group of the Generation Equality Forum that will take place next year to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Conference in 1995. Basically, I should say, basically work with federal government, and in this case, it's like, I think it's not like a very, let's say, perfect government that we have, but it's an opportunity that we have to take, and we have to get work, because this government is really concerned and worried about the inequalities that we live in the country, that concerned about working to to reduce poverty, basically, and to eliminate corruption. These are not easy issues at all. No, it's gonna found that is like more complicated, as just Gadi mentioned. For example, one example of the organized crime, it's all over the country, and the situation is like very, very hard. But fortunately, we have several feminist women in the government at the federal level, and they are very committed with the women's issues. They are very aware of the violent situation against women. They are really working on it. They just, well, not just, but a few months, they created this national strategy to work against violence for women in Mexico. And they are now doing this with the collaboration of several institutions that have to do, like, for example, the Women's Institute or the Youth Institute, or even the judiciary system, and all the partners that have something to do in order to some responsibility to address the issue of violence against women. This is very new, let's say. This didn't really happen before. This kind of collaboration that is like more formal and more real, this was not really happened before. And they said that they were doing it, but this wasn't true. So now it's like, as I said, it's not the best government, but it's the government we have to make work. We have to help them work. And they have another issue, which is very important with this strategy, that they will be working at the municipal. Is where exactly what Gadi has just said. It's exactly where women live, where women suffer, where women are being violated or whatever. It's like it's the place where they should be. Now, with this protest that we have seen, that was about 2-3 years ago, they started with, we have a lot of young feminists now demanding their rights. And that's very important, because like, these women are not now saying that it's enough, that they have zero tolerance to any kind of violence. Let's say whenever somebody tells them something on the street, when somebody looks at them, when they are feeling they are being harassed, or they protest, and they do not allow these things to happen anymore. And I think this is fantastic. Well, we went out on a demonstration on March 8th this year, and I think there was 1 million women there gathered for the first time in this city. And it was like everybody was there. Everybody said, let's stop violence against women. So that's why they are now protesting. They're still doing it, because it's been years, as Gadi said, years that they have been reaching to the authorities and nothing happens. Impunity in Mexico goes up to 98%. So the judiciary system is rotten, it's not working, it's not giving results, and something has to be done about it, because these women are suffering very much. And that's why they are going out and destroying buildings and monuments, and doing, like, putting things on fire and all that, because they said these monuments and everything, they can be repaired, but I can never get my daughter back, and nobody's listening to me, and I've suffered so much. And this, we have a very difficult situation, because violence all along the country is very serious. And then on the other hand, we have the specific, like, domestic violence and femicide also, because they also, well, I think it's gone up. I think the numbers have gone up, and it's more cruel, the situation and the form that women are disappeared, or they are mutilated, they are assassinated, they are killed in terrible ways that nobody wants to know exactly. It's like terrible, and there's no way they can be protected. And they go to the police and they turn them back, and they go again and they turn them back, and nothing happens until the worst happens. And that the judicial system is really bad, but it doesn't depend on the executive system. So they are all by themselves, and there are certain things that are being done, but it does not give any results so far. So, and I also think, well, numbers have risen, but I don't know if they've risen, or we'll never know if it's only because violence has risen, or also because the records have improved. Whatever the reason, it's very important. We always said, no one, any other woman killed, no more. It's enough, and that's why all these young girls are on the streets, and also with the mothers of victims that they're working together, and they have caught the attention of the government, and that is important, because we used to march and demonstrate for years and years, and nobody would look at us, and nobody would pay to what we were saying. And now the governments, Mexico City and the federal government, I know because I have a dialogue with several authorities. I know they're worried, and they are trying to give results. That's what we have said. Now we need to have results so that now women can see that this government is doing something about it. And well, what else? Well, I guess I can stop now here and come back later if you want.
Thank you, Maru. Thank you very much. And now we are giving the word to Norma Don Juan. And Norma, can you please unmute? Norma, ¿lo puedes quitar? Yeah.
Sí, ya.
Okay.
Gracias.
And also Amanda is going to try to make the translation.
Hola, les saludo con gusto y agradezco la oportunidad de poder compartir con ustedes. Como ya dijo Edme, mi nombre es Norma Don Juan Pérez. Soy del pueblo Nahua. Soy parte de la Coordinadora Nacional de Mujeres Indígenas, CONAMI, México.
Yes, so she presented herself saying that her name is Norma Don Juan Pérez. She's representing a village, or originarian village, and also she's the coordinator of an indigenous network in Mexico for indigenous women. Oh, and we're having a presentation as well. Very good. Yeah, adelante.
Yo soy educadora popular, promotora de derechos humanos, y dentro de CONAMI estoy participando en algo que llamamos Emergencia Comunitaria de Género, que es una iniciativa para documentar las violencias que vivimos las mujeres indígenas.
Okay, so she's a public educator, and she's also a defender of human rights. She's also part of an initiative having to do with emergent happenings taking place at a communitarian level, having to do with gender, and also, yeah, so this is the initiative. Yeah.
CONAMI es una organización que nació en 1997 en Oaxaca, México, y está formada por mujeres indígenas que vivimos en zonas urbanas y rurales en 17 estados del país.
Okay, so this initiative started in 1987 in Oaxaca, which is a southern state and city in Mexico. And it was constituted by indigenous women in both rural and urban areas and is today part of 17 entities.
Para nosotras ha sido importante tener voz y rostro propios y aportar al movimiento de mujeres y movimiento feminista desde nuestro sentipensar, desde nuestras cosmovisiones y nuestras formas de ser y estar en el mundo.
Okay, so since they started, it has been important for them to give a voice and also a face to this indigenous movement, and also including their cosmovision and also their way of thinking and perceiving things.
Esta iniciativa de emergencia comunitaria de género nace en el año 2013, cuando estaba gobernando México Felipe Calderón, e implementa una política de seguridad que llama la guerra contra el narcotráfico, lo que nos pone en una situación muy compleja porque incrementa de manera alarmante la violencia en el país.
Yeah, so this initiative started in 2003 when the former president Felipe Calderón was still ruling. So with this, it was also implemented politics having to do with security, and they saw alarming races of violence, and also that made the whole situation of gender violence more complex in the country.
Esta imagen es de una marcha que realizamos en 2013, el 25 de noviembre, en Cuernavaca, Morelos, México. Y pues la gente estaba muy curiosa porque no habían visto una marcha así. No era común que las mujeres indígenas tomáramos las calles, por lo menos en Morelos.
So the photo you can see on the shared screen is from a march manifestation that took place in 2013, the 25th of December in Cuernavaca, Mexico. And people was really curious about this manifestation, also seeing indigenous people, indigenous women on the street, which didn't occur much in Morelos, which is the state.
Esta otra imagen es sobre diversas compañeras nuestras que fueron asesinadas, que fueron encarceladas, que eran perseguidas, algunas otras desaparecidas, y que pues al día de hoy no hay justicia para ellas.
So the other image that you're looking at right now are various fellow feminist compañeras, which you would say in Spanish, that some of these women are today still, they haven't found them, or they were assassinated. They were also put into prison, and unto this day, there's still no justice in any of their cases.
Porque para nosotras, pues las violencias sí tienen razón de género, pero también influye nuestra etnicidad y nuestra clase social. Por eso seguimos diciendo que vivimos una triple discriminación por ser mujeres, por ser indígenas y por ser pobres.
So taking this violence in account, it's important to remember how gender influences violence, but also taking into account ethnicity and also social class. So among these women, they would say that they live an endless discrimination based on their gender, their class, but also having to do with resources such as poverty.
Y como lo decía Gadi, pues hay diferentes maneras en las que somos violentadas. Para nosotras la violencia es estructural también y está institucionalizada. Aquí en una de las imágenes, en uno de los carteles, hay un pedido de libertad por una mujer que fue encarcelada injustamente. Entonces, son diferentes violencias que se van acumulando y que para nosotras es importante nombrar.
So also what our other fellow panelists mentioned before, Gadi, women are violated in many ways, and violence should be perceived as something structural, but also something being institutionalized. So on this image that you can see right now, there were various what do you call them? Carteles, various like charts, where they would do a public announcement regarding a woman having been injustly put into prison. So this also shows the various ways that this violence affects women and also is accumulated as well.
También hablamos de la violencia institucional, porque justo en el contexto de la pandemia del COVID-19, se decide hacer recortes presupuestales a trabajos como las CAMIS, las casas de atención a las mujeres indígenas y afromexicanas, en donde muchas veces eran la única opción que las mujeres tenían para recibir atención y acompañamiento frente a violencias. Y muchas de estas casas, por estos recortes, tuvieron que cerrar o limitar mucho su trabajo.
So coming back to the situation of COVID, there have also been a lot of budget allocations, but also shortcomings in budget having to do with these special centers called CAMIS, which are centers of attention for indigenous and Afro-Mexicans as well. So having to do with this new and restricted budget, many of these centers have had to close or also limit the work extensively.
A pesar de que en las estadísticas y por la denuncia de muchas organizaciones como nosotras, se hablaba del incremento de la violencia que las mujeres sufrían en sus hogares, porque ahora estaban encerradas con sus agresores. Esta violencia incrementó, sin embargo, la respuesta del Estado mexicano fue hacer estos recortes a las CAMIS y también a la Red Nacional de Refugios. Y por eso también nosotras consideramos que hay esta violencia institucional al negar estas violencias por un lado y por otro, en vez de fortalecer estos trabajos, se debilitan al hacer estos recortes.
So even though many of these organizations were telling that the situation of violence also having to do with COVID is actually increasing, and also due to women being locked in together with their perpetrators. The response of the Mexican government was to do these shortcuts in budget, but also restricting the resources having to do with the national network for victims. So with this happening, they could see that instead of the government helping them out in this work, they actually made it more harder and more restricted.
Aquí es la toma de la dependencia o la institución responsable de atender la política destinada a los pueblos indígenas. Se hace la toma de las instalaciones y en días recientes se queman documentos y expedientes. Esto lo realiza la comunidad otomí. Y esto pues es en resultado de años de estar solicitando atención y de no tener una respuesta. Entonces es la desesperación de nuestras compañeras y de los pueblos ante pues la indiferencia del Estado.
So in these images that you're seeing right now, she's explaining that there's been various occupations of public buildings having to do with institutions, having to do with indigenous people's rights. in Mexico. And in these photos, you can see these occupations carried out by the people of Otomi. And this is also the result of many years trying to get a response from the government and also for something to happen. So these are images also of the desperation of trying to get something and attention of what's going on.
Pues aquí esta imagen es del 25 de noviembre en Carrillo Puerto, Quintana Roo, en donde vemos pues que desgraciadamente la violencia, como ya lo decía Gadi, ya no está solo en algunos lugares del país. También Efraín en el chat mencionaba que en el sur de Guanajuato sucede. Pues esto desgraciadamente se ha ido generalizando en el país. Los índices de violencia, de feminicidios son muy alarmantes. Ya no podemos hablar de una zona en específico, sino desgraciadamente ya es algo que está en todo el país y las mujeres pues están saliendo a tomar las calles.
So these photos are from the 25th of November from Carrillo Puerto, Quintana Roo. And what you can also notice is that the violence is not something just isolated to one region or one town. This is something that you can see throughout Mexico, which was also mentioned in a comment by Efrain, that this also takes place in the south of Guanajuato. And you can also see that the rates of femicide are also alarmingly high throughout the country. And that also led to these manifestations the 25th of November, where women took the streets.
Y pues también utilizamos otras vías. Esto que están viendo es sobre el caso de Ernestina Asensio, que en 2013 fue violada y resultado de esta violación y el maltrato, murió, fue asesinada y a la fecha no hay justicia para ella. Entonces estamos desde CONAMI respaldando ante la Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos que tome el caso de Ernestina Asensio para que sigamos, logremos esta justicia para doña Ernestina Asensio. Entonces, son distintos los caminos y las formas que hemos estado llevando a cabo para poder manifestarnos, pero también alcanzar la justicia ante todas estas violencias de las que pues seguimos enfrentando y que se siguen incrementando desgraciadamente. Entonces, pues esperamos que el 4 de diciembre a las 13 horas, hora de Ciudad de México, se llevará a cabo la audiencia y pues esperamos que nos puedan acompañar y que nos apoyen con los hashtags y se sumen a esta campaña contra el olvido y la impunidad.
So with this next image, you can see the case of Doña Ernestina Asensio. She was raped, and as a result of her rape, she died from her injuries. So she was murdered. Until today, she still has no justice, so there has not happened anything in her case. And with the organization, Norma is describing how they are taking the case to the International Human Rights Court to get justice in her case. So they're choosing various routes to get this kind of attention and also justice. So she was making a plea to everyone here that the 4th of December at 3 p.m. And that this is Mexican time, they're gonna do audiencia. That's gonna be kind of like a meeting, like a public hearing, let's say, of her case. So she's asking everybody to please pass on the hashtag, and we're gonna put it in the comment at the end as well, so you can help her spread the message and also for us to participate and hear more about her case. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Muchas
Gracias.
Pues muchas gracias, Norma. Realmente es muy impresionante tu presentación y si puedes, como decía Amanda, compartir el link, el enlace para la audiencia y para ver los hashtags para que todo el mundo los tenga. Los puedes poner en el chat, si puedes, para que todo el mundo esté enterado. Entonces, muy bien, llevamos bien la primera hora. Entonces ahora empezamos con la segunda hora, que es comentarios, discusión de todo lo que se ha presentado. So thank you very much. We have gone through the first hour, which are the first presentations of the panelists. And now we are coming to the second hour, which is going to be mostly the questions that the audience and the public is putting and the comments and also comments to each other of the panelists. So let me see. We have some questions here.
If you want, Edme, I've already seen some, so I could start if you want to.
Yes, okay.
Ok, lo hago en inglés primero para presentarle a todos. Ajá. So we have a first question having to do with COVID-19. So the question is, how has COVID-19 affected the situation for women in Mexico? And this question was made by Lea Kim. Entonces, la primera pregunta que tenemos es, ¿cómo ha afectado el COVID-19 la situación de las mujeres en México? Y cualquiera puede responder primero, como quieran.
¿Quién?
¿Puedo?
Sí, claro.
Lo comentaba hace un momento, que las mujeres tuvieron que salir ahora de casa para buscar el sustento del hogar y los trabajos a los cuales podían enfocarse ellas era trabajo de cocineras en cocinas económicas o restaurantes. Sin embargo, el COVID vino a cerrar precisamente todos estos establecimientos donde ellas estaban laborando y lo que las dejó solamente como alternativa fue emprender pues negocios informales en las calles o venta de comida rápida, lo que las expone también en cuestiones de salud porque no están trabajando bajo las condiciones o medidas de protección y seguridad. Esa sería como una situación que se vive en esta zona.
Okay, muchas gracias. So, sorry. The response from Gadi having to do with the question was something that she mentioned before. But with the whole situation of COVID, for a lot of women now, they've had to find new working opportunities. And also a lot of these are informal. As she was mentioning, for a lot of women, it has implied having to look for work in the street, like selling food or even in restaurants, because as many restaurants have closed due to COVID, they have had to do their own stands, but of course they're less protected to be contaminated because they also don't have this protection, or they can't have the kind of protection they would need to not get contaminated. Muchas gracias, Gadi.
¿Alguien más?
Yes, I would like to add some things. Well, we have seen that with this pandemic, the inequalities have become visible, the inequalities that we live in the families, and that that women take the worst part because they spend 3 more times time in doing domestic work, and now they are at home also with perpetrators, so violence has increased. Women have also become teachers now. They with the children that are at home, and they are taking classes through the internet or television. And we have also seen that many women, many children, many families in this country do not have access to internet. So that's a very serious problem because it's like about 40% of the population do not have this the internet at home. And it's very expensive, and in these places in Mexico where it's not possible at all because of technological issues. So Women are facing a very serious situation because it's very stressful. They have to, some of them who are working and but have to work at the same time, do domestic work and also take care of children. And also many times, as Gadi said, they have lost their job and they have not economic resources for the family. And this is putting them in a very difficult situation that the government is trying to do something about it, but it's very little because they have, like, for example, they're giving out for older people, older than 65 people, what they call is a pension, but it's not, it's something like just, what is it, 48 euros a month for them to like have some cash, some money. No? So that doesn't really solve anything. There are also scholarships they call for students who are going to public schools, and it's about like maybe 150 euros a month also. So the government thinks that with this little money, they are solving the unemployment problem that we're facing, and it's not true. It's like they're not looking at the real situation, although it is evident, it's obvious. It's like it's the federal government. They are not considering, for example, having a universal wage that is being, like the CEPAL, ICLAC in Latin America has been saying that there should be an income, an universal income for all the families. And well, Mexico is not going to do that. And the pandemic is lasting too long. So I don't know what they're gonna be doing, but it's really difficult.
Thank you a lot for your response.
Norma, ¿quieres responder también?
Sí, espero no ser muy repetitiva, pero nos dimos cuenta cómo con el COVID se acentúan las violencias y las brechas de desigualdad que ya existen. No es que ahora las estamos mirando, es que ya estaban, pero ahora se incrementan. Ahora las mujeres tenemos que regresar a nuestras casas y asumir el trabajo de maestras, de enfermeras, de cuidadoras, de gestionar de manera virtual servicios, y muchas de nosotras no tenemos los medios ni los conocimientos para hacerlo. Entonces, creo que aquí aumenta el subsidio que las mujeres siempre hemos dado a las familias, al Estado y al país con nuestro trabajo, y nos encontramos con una pobreza de tiempo para nosotras. No hay tiempo ya para nuestro activismo, no hay tiempo ya para tener un momento para nosotras.
So I'm going to translate. So Norma is saying a little bit, as Maru said before, there is, women have been forced to take all kinds of burdens that they had start to share with others. They don't have an income. They have to take care of the children who don't go to school, of the adults. They have to find alternative income because they have lost the income they had before. So all this forces them to be extremely busy and not to have even time for themselves, and much less time for political involvement, as Gadi had said before.
Y solo agregar que también el acceso a la justicia y la protección se vuelve aún más complicado porque se cierran varios juzgados y se detienen los procesos. Otras mujeres que tenían órdenes de protección y había personal de la policía cuidándolas, los retiran por el COVID, ¿no? Entonces, toda la atención se concentra en el COVID, y es algo que hemos señalado al gobierno. No se reconoce los índices de violencia que existen dentro del hogar y no se actúa, por lo tanto, para detenerlos. Entonces, todo se concentra en una situación de salud, pero no se quiere mirar o no se quiere reconocer esta violencia que estamos viviendo, y muchas de las mujeres que llevan procesos muy delicados, que están frente a agresores dispuestos a asesinarlas en cualquier momento, se quedan sin la protección de la policía por estas restricciones del COVID. Y nosotras tampoco podemos movernos, por lo que decía Gadi, se reduce la movilidad del transporte, los horarios, en fin, nos deja mucho más en una situación de mayor vulnerabilidad.
So Norma is saying that everything is restricted. Justice is restricted, and there are lots of trials and processes that have been stopped. And also the scarce protection that some women had got before from their aggressors has been stopped. Also, this kind of protection, or if they have any police protection, has stopped because of all these COVID restrictions. And also they cannot move. The mobility, as Gadi had said before, the transport system is not working as it should, so they have no mobility at all. So this is also part of the consequences they are getting from COVID. Then perhaps go to another question here, or it's a comment. It says, se escucha mucho sobre que el Estado mexicano y López Obrador están desarrollando una política del exterior femenina. Lo que es un poco irónico, ¿no? Experimenten ustedes que los movimientos feministas de base han podido participar en esta mesa de diálogo, o ocurren estos discursos principalmente adentro del Estado y el Parlamento. So, bueno, todas han entendido. And this is a question about the policies from López Obrador, the president, if it's really, because it's commented that the Mexican government has also a feminist external policy. And the comment is, or the question, if the discussion groups regarding the policies are only taking place within the government and the parliament, or are they shared with the grassroots groups? So anybody to start? Maru?
Yes, there are many things to say about this. And I would say that this is not a homogeneous government. Mexico is a very large country with more than 120 million people. And there are different things in Mexico. Well, of course, well, Mexico saying that Mexico has a feminist foreign policy, and I think it's an opportunity. We have seen it always like that, because we are the ones who have been working to, like, for the Cairo agenda, the Beijing agenda, whatever agenda that the Mexican government commits to at the international level. So if they are saying that it's a good idea and it's a good opportunity, so that other governments look at Mexico and they also analyze what's going on, and that all the governments that are not even thinking about it, women's rights, like they kind of feel like, well, maybe that can be an idea. Say Mexico has been an international leader for many, many years, and countries look at them. So, well, then we say, we in a way encourage this, because the head of the Minister of Foreign Affairs is a real feminist man. He is working, he has done things. He was the mayor of Mexico City 6 years ago or something like that. And we decriminalized abortion in Mexico City when he was the mayor. We also have this, like, the marriage of the diversity approved in that period too. He really believes in it. He really believes in it. And it's good that he pulls other institutions to do something like that, or to accompany him. And it's good also that there are many other women in the government that are also working together to make this real. But they also say, they have said recently that they want to have a feminist interior policy. And that is really missing. It's a very difficult task. And the president himself, he would never, ever mention the word feminist. He doesn't recognize women's rights specifically. He was just asked about 2-3 days ago whether it was the same thing to be femicide or homicide. And he said, well, basically it's the same, no problem. It comes because it is the result of 30 years of neoliberalism and all that. And he has never really made a difference between men and women. And he says he looks like the people. Okay, the people, those, I mean, working for the poor, for the people, we're all together in the same bag. He would never recognize this. But he has several people in government at very high levels, like the Ministry of the Interior, who is a woman and is a feminist and is always talking about feminism. Of course, the director or the president of the National Institute of Women, and several others that are working under their space in the area where they are trying to make a difference. Now, when they say about grassroots participating in these meetings, it's like sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Basically, they participate in consultations that are approached by the government at the different places. But for example, the National Institute for Women developed their pro-equality plan program, whatever that is, like whatever the plan they're going to have from 2020 to 2024. And they carried out consultations in each of every one state. This was not like a big consultation with like thousands of women or more. It's like was small. We were small groups so that women could express themselves. In total, in the whole country, they reached over 3,000 women, let's say. But they wanted grassroots women from the communities. They wanted to hear their voices. They wanted them to say what their needs or their worries are. And they came out with 3 basic ones. One was violence, the other one was employment, and the other one care, like domestic care work. Or they wanted children to be safe and to be cared. So these are the 3 basic issues that the government is now working on. And they're going back because they're going back during these 16 days of activism against violence. They're going to have a meeting in Campeche, that's in a state in the south of Mexico, to reach out to these women again and to analyze with them how they feel the government in Campeche should solve these needs they have or what they propose to be done. So they do it sometimes, they do it a little with some people. It's not possible to do it with many, but they're trying. That's what I could say for now.
Okay, thank you very
Gaby,
much.
Norma,
Sí.
¿quieren decir algo sobre esto?
Sí, en mi caso, pues conozco mi realidad, estoy consciente de ella, sin embargo, creo que hoy más que nunca las organizaciones sociales debemos estar activas para hacer la exigencia de todas estas demandas y visibilizar cuáles son las realidades de acuerdo a los contextos en los que nos enfrentamos. Desafortunadamente, el gobierno actual no es un gobierno que le apuesta mucho a las organizaciones sociales y nosotras somos, pues, quienes vivimos todas estas consecuencias de las decisiones gubernamentales. No creo que el gobierno actual sea vista, hace muchas actividades sí, y lo que considero más lamentable también es que él se asume como una persona aliada de los pueblos originarios o los pueblos indígenas, sin embargo, en las acciones no se reflejan las políticas públicas que realmente nos beneficien como pueblos originarios. Yo creo que debemos estar ahí, exigir, demandar, porque pese a nuestras situaciones de inseguridad en este espacio en el que vivo, pudimos lograr el Premio Nacional de la Juventud y a mí me orgullece mucho eso porque la compañera que logró este premio, su hermano también falleció en situaciones de las mismas circunstancias, o sea, y pese a eso seguimos trabajando el activismo y también logramos el Premio Estatal de la Juventud y todas las personas estamos conscientes de cuál es nuestra realidad, pero creo que lo importante es no frenar este trabajo tan importante que tenemos ya.
Norma.
Pues ahí creo que debemos de tener cuidado porque cómo se apropian de nuestros planteamientos, de nuestro lenguaje y pretenden hacerlo política pública, pero solo es de forma, porque no hay un cambio de fondo. Y aquí quiero empezar a comentar sobre una pregunta que vi, que qué es lo que necesitamos hacer. Creo que necesitamos hacer cambios de fondo, porque entre ellos tenemos que hablar del cambio del ejercicio del poder y del modelo económico que no han cambiado con este nuevo sexenio, siguen siendo los mismos. Entonces, mientras esto no cambie, no vamos a lograr que nuestro país deje de estar controlado por las fuerzas del crimen organizado, por la corrupción que existe. Estamos ante un Estado mexicano debilitado. Está debilitado, pero no lo quiere reconocer. Hay regiones del país que ya están totalmente bajo el dominio del crimen organizado. Entonces, y ahí se habla de cómo hay muertes permitidas, ¿no? Muertes permitidas, ¿por qué? Porque todas las instituciones no tienen presencia ya en esos territorios. La gente está a la deriva y eso ha provocado también muchos desplazamientos forzados dentro del país.
Es que, ¿podemos traducir? Sí, es que se nos olvidó. Norma is saying that we have to take care, we have to be careful because the government can appropriate the language in the form of policies that are supposed to be popular and are supposed to be for the people and coming from the people, but in general, they don't change anything. They don't change what is happening, and what is really needed is transformation, structural and deep transformation of the system, because the situation is the same as before, or even worse. ¿Algo más, Norma?
Bueno, hay mucho más que decir, pero para que todas podamos comentar,
sí.
Lo dejo hasta aquí. Gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just para traducirte también, Gadi.
Sí.
Yeah, so what she was talking about as well, what she responded to the question was also related to what Norma was talking about, like the politics doesn't really have a transformative nature, and there's a lot of talking and there's not so much doing. And Gadi was also mentioning that the politics targeting indigenous people haven't really done anything for the indigenous people in Mexico. So she was also mentioning various initiatives where they haven't really seen a change, and specifically not with the resources that are supposed to be allocated to the indigenous people. Yeah, muchas gracias.
Gracias, Amanda. There's another question from Gia.
Yep.
Could you read it, Amanda?
Yeah. So the other question had to do, I can read it out loud. So the panelists have shared different views on the empathy or lack of empathy from government officials. What works and doesn't work in changing government officials to take action, especially punish violence and femicide? Y ahora traduzco también la pregunta. Entonces hay una pregunta que se dirige de que ustedes han compartido varias, pues nos han hablado mucho, ¿no?, de la empatía o la falta de empatía, ¿no?, por agentes gubernamentales, ¿no? Entonces la pregunta es, ¿qué funciona y qué no funciona para tener ese cambio de los agentes gubernamentales para que toman acción y especialmente para frenar y eliminar la violencia y los feminicidios en México?
Y castigar la violencia.
Sí.
¿Alguna de ustedes quiere empezar?
Well, I think it's been very hard. It doesn't work. I mean, it hasn't worked. They haven't found exactly like the formula that would be the best thing to do. But I think that exposing them to the lack of responsibility for their actions or disseminating what doing wrong with their names and everything is something that we have started to do, so that they have been sensitized, and we have been done a lot of training for the judicial power and legislators and everyone. It's like we enough, and I think they had enough. I mean, if it didn't work as well as we wanted to, we don't think we're going to do it anymore by ourselves. And now it's also a government responsibility. The government is doing that, and then we should encourage them to train their authorities so that they provide a better service. And I think many of us have decided not to do it anymore, but also disseminate what they are doing wrong. And now social networking, it is like more evident. And then there have been some cases, for example, at the universities where professors have been accused of sexual harassment or even rape or things like that, and they have been discharged from the university. So that is like, we have to shake them. We have to shake the system and make them think twice before they do anything, because there will be consequences. And the same thing with judges, and the same thing with legislators and all that. I think that would be my position, because I'm also tired of the situation. That's it.
Muchas gracias, Maru. Gadi o Norma, ¿quieren responder la pregunta?
¿Podrías volver a repetir la pregunta, por favor?
Claro. Entonces, la pregunta era, ¿qué funciona o no funciona en cambiar las acciones de los oficiales o agentes de gubernamentales, especialmente para erradicar o eliminar la violencia y también castigar y los feminicidios también?
Considero que las políticas públicas enfocadas a reducir la violencia de género, pues no están siendo muy efectivas, porque quienes lo llevan a cabo estos programas no están sensibilizados, por lo tanto no pueden entender las necesidades reales de las mujeres. No es lo mismo también una organización que trabaja feminicidios, es importante el trabajo, pero y una organización que trabaja, por ejemplo, crimen organizado. O sea, son situaciones muy parecidas pero diferentes. Las familias que pierden a hijas a causa del feminicidio sufren también las consecuencias de eso, y las que perdemos a familiares a causa del crimen organizado, tenemos también otro tipo de situaciones que debemos trabajar desde el aspecto emocional. Entonces, todas estas políticas públicas para erradicar la violencia de género no funcionan porque quien está a la cabeza no comprende realmente la dimensión de todo lo que afecta a nosotras las personas que vivimos estas situaciones de manera más real.
Gadi is saying that all these policies are not effective at all, and this is partly because the people who are implementing them are not really trained on gender issues. They don't understand what is happening. And so these policies are really very ineffective, especially they don't understand the situation of the families like hers that have suffered a lot from this violence and are not really helping to eradicate this violence. Gracias, Gadi. Tal vez Norma, ¿quieres decir algo?
Pues sí, en México tenemos leyes, tenemos un marco normativo. Hay personas hasta que dicen que tenemos obesidad normativa, porque hay muchas leyes, pero el problema es que no se aplican. El problema es, como decía, que las instituciones están debilitadas y que podemos tener espacios abiertos a nivel federal para el diálogo, pero no a nivel estatal ni municipal. Por eso hablo de que tiene que haber un cambio en el ejercicio del poder, en donde haya contrapesos también y en donde todo lo que podemos aportar las mujeres desde nuestros movimientos, toda esa experiencia, capacidad, también puedan incorporarse a las políticas públicas y no solo nos dejen en el papel de víctimas, porque hemos desarrollado también muchos conocimientos y capacidades en la atención, en la prevención de la violencia. Entonces, creo que hay mucho por hacer, pero tiene que cambiarse primero la visión de que el problema que todo esto, que nuestras vidas importan, y que hay, y por qué hablamos de feminicidio, reconocerse esto y pues actuar. Yo sigo insistiendo en la parte estructural. ¿Cómo hacemos para realmente combatir la impunidad? Porque esta impunidad ante nuestros asesinatos es lo que mantiene vivo este círculo de violencia que cada vez va incrementando.
So, Amanda, ¿puedes traducir si quieres?
Yeah, of course. So what Norma is telling us is that there are actually a lot of laws in Mexico and a lot of legislations that actually could be very effective on these issues. But as Gary was mentioning as well, they are very weak in the terms of their implementation, and also the dialogue, the communication between the different state levels, between the federal, the municipal one, and state level is very weak. So many times the complaint will not go further. And also that there need to be a transformation regarding the executives of power as well. They need to be how do you call it? A redistribution of power. And also that the experiences and the knowledge of women should be more appreciated, and also what public officials can learn from feminist movements as well. And not only see or perceive women as victims, they are also persons that have a lot to tell, and a lot to tell about prevention of violence, of detecting violence, and also how to eliminate it. So it also needs to be this kind of transformation regarding our perception, and also that these lives are worth saving. And also she ended up telling us that it's also very, very important to eliminate impunity, because impunity is very high in Mexico regarding gender-based violence. Pues muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Amanda. Tenemos varias preguntas más, y para que nos dé el tiempo, yo creo que no vamos a poder hacer esto de que cada quien conteste, de que cada pregunta la contestan las tres, sino lo que yo propongo es que pongamos a una de ustedes a contestar a las preguntas. Vamos a ver de qué se trata. La siguiente pregunta es: ¿cómo se ve el panorama para las nuevas generaciones que quizás se estén educando mejor? Es decir, donde quizás las niñas, futuras mujeres, sí tengan una educación donde puedan trabajar en otros rubros aparte del trabajo doméstico. So how is the panorama regarding the new generations and regarding education that perhaps permits women, girls now, to have a better education and to work in other areas that is not domestic labor? ¿Alguna de ustedes quiere contestarla? Y después pasamos a las otras. La educación. Maru. Okay. Por favor.
Yes, as I said, Mexico is a very big country, but there are things that are happening and that are making this, like, for the new generations to be stronger. It's like, and it is clear when you see the demonstrations against violence, some women are getting empowered, and education is like universal. In many cases, there are many women at universities even more women sometimes. The problem is that when they leave the university and they get a job, they are paid less for the same job. But we're working on it. I think that's an issue. Inequalities among men and women is an issue that is present all the time. There are a lot of discussions, a lot of people involved, a lot of demonstrations, and a lot of work. It's going to take time. It's going to take time really to make a real change. But I think I'm an optimist because I think I see different faces talking about it. I see people moving. I see women really going out and express themselves and demand their rights and all that. So we are in a moment that is a very difficult moment because of confinement, but still, I think there are chances that this will happen soon. And I should say that Mexico, we have been working also on political party for many years, or political participation of women. We had a project in 2010 that was called SUMA, and the idea was to empower political women in order to reach for municipalities or Congress. And it was in 2010, and I think it was like 2 years ago, 2018 or something like that, that the parity before the last elections in 2018, it must have been 2017, there is a law that calls for parity at all levels in the Congress. And so we have 50%, almost 50% of women in the House of the Representatives and 50% in the Senate almost. And these women are also making laws that give recognize rights of women and encourage other changes. And there we have now, for example, we're going to have elections in 2020 in 15 states. And the National Election Institute said that 7 out of those 15 candidates for governor should be women because of parity. So changes are being made, and girls are looking at different examples and different faces of women. So it's gonna be, we have to work harder and harder all the time, but I think I'm optimistic, and I think we can reach things faster with this administration than before.
The next question, la siguiente tiene que ver con la cooperación entre las iniciativas de ustedes y otras redes de pueblos indígenas, el CNI, por ejemplo, si es así, ¿cómo ha sido esa experiencia? ¿Qué tan difícil es hablar de las mujeres en particular en este tipo de espacios, o sea, foros indígenas? Y entonces le vamos a dar la palabra a Norma y a Gaby. Norma?
Sí.
So
pues,
I just want to say in English, the next question is regarding the interaction between these indigenous women and other indigenous organizations, and how difficult is the dialogue within these indigenous forums regarding women. Norma, por favor.
Sí, pues varias de nuestras compañeras también participan dentro de CNI y participan en otras organizaciones mixtas. Podría decir que hay apertura, pero todavía no es suficiente porque se sigue considerando las violencias contra nosotras como una agenda de las mujeres. Y por otro lado, alguien también hablaba de dentro de los feminismos. También dentro de los feminismos a veces se piensa que nuestros usos y costumbres son sinónimo de machismo. Y que entonces, si queremos avanzar contra este machismo, tenemos que dejar a un lado nuestros usos y costumbres, y esto tampoco es del todo correcto, ¿no? Sí hay actitudes, comportamientos, ideas, y nosotras los señalamos al interior de nuestros pueblos, porque el patriarcado y el colonialismo están ahí en medio de nosotros, pero no quiere decir que por eso vamos a dejar nuestras cosmovisiones a un lado, sino vamos a ser autocríticos, vamos a revisar qué es lo que nos está violentando y vamos a cambiarlo, pero no vamos a decir que todo esto es machismo. Entonces creo que tenemos un gran reto de estar tendiendo puentes de diálogo entre lo que es género y la interculturalidad, porque dentro de los movimientos de mujeres y feminismos, a veces se dice, no, vamos por las agendas de todas, ¿no? No vamos a ver lo específico de cada quien, y todavía cuesta trabajo entender lo que a nosotras nos significan las violencias. Lo que sí es importante es esto, ¿no? Lo que nos une el hilo conductor en las generalidades, pero eso impide ver las particularidades de nuestro ser indígenas. Entonces, ahí nos falta ese diálogo de ida y vuelta, que los compañeros entiendan que todo esto que los feminismos han aportado al movimiento de mujeres indígenas no son ideologías colonizadoras. Y por otro lado, nuestras compañeras de los movimientos feministas puedan entender que nosotras nos construimos colectivamente y que para nosotras es tan importante nuestro ser individual como nuestro ser colectivo. Entonces ahí tenemos ese gran reto de cómo hablarnos de una manera horizontal, ¿no? Dentro de nuestros pueblos y hacia afuera, porque también creo que ante estos contextos es muy importante fortalecer las alianzas y el caminar con los movimientos feministas, ¿no? Y entender que los feminismos son diversos, ¿no? Que a veces tenemos solo una mirada y desde ahí calificamos o descalificamos el feminismo, y creo que también hay que tener cuidado con eso.
Sí, Norma is saying that yes, within the CNA they have of course a space and there is a certain openness, but at the same time there are problems because some of the comrades, they think that this is only issues that have to do with women. So sometimes there is not sufficiently understanding of what is happening with these women organizations within indigenous organizations. But there's another problem, and that's the relationship with feminists in general and other feminist movements. Because sometimes there's also the misunderstanding that indigenous women should leave their traditions and costumes and to become feminist. And Norma says this is not correct because we are the individuals, but we are also the collective, and we want to remain like that. We want to have a bridge between the two issues, which is the patriarchat and colonialism. And that's something very difficult, but we want to be part of the feminists, but be also respected as indigenous feminists, more or less. It's a resume of what Norma has said. So I would like to invite Gadi. Por favor, Gadi, si tú quieres decir algo.
Sí, yo recalco que los contextos son variados, son diferentes. Las CONAMI tienen su propio contexto, tienen su propia lucha. En mi caso puede ser un poco más dirigido como a la inseguridad. Y creo que esto, pues, dentro de la agenda pública tiene que estar visibilizado. Los contextos diferentes tienen que atenderse de formas diferentes. Y respecto a los movimientos sociales, yo creo que hasta ahorita, desde mi perspectiva, no hay nada más valioso que las articulaciones entre organizaciones. La alianza entre nosotras en este contexto es ahora más fundamental que antes, por lo mismo de que el tiempo ha cambiado, los protocolos de atención no se llevan a cabo como se deben realizar por parte de las instituciones. Entonces no nos queda más que hacer una demanda colectiva para realmente tener un impacto en todas las incidencias a las que nosotras nos sumamos.
So in the case of Gadi, she says that yes, the contexts are extremely important. And in her case, in her context, but they give priorities to insecurity. And she thinks also that articulations are extremely important in this case, and that means alliances. So broad fronts as possible in order to be heard, in order to be listened, in order to become more stronger. So for her, yes, this insecurity and also the articulation would be the priority, and that's the articulation with the rest of the feminist movements or the rest of women's groups. Muchas gracias. Si me permiten, vamos a las otras preguntas también. Bueno, ahí nos quedamos con Gaby, porque los miembros del crimen organizado, concretamente en Guerrero, son también de origen indígena. ¿Y creen ustedes que la violencia misógina tiene una relación directa con el crimen organizado o siempre ha existido, solo que ahora se está ventilando más? Empezamos con Gadi, tal vez. Gadi, ¿qué piensas?
Sí, respecto a que si las personas del crimen organizado también son indígenas, sí. Las comunidades de aquí, pues son indígenas. Les comentaba, nosotras vivimos en la Puerta de la Montaña y todas estas comunidades están categorizadas como zonas indígenas. Que las personas estén involucrados en estos espacios, también es importante mencionarlo aquí, no es por gusto o por intención, sino que también existen casos donde las personas son obligadas a adentrarse a estos grupos contra su voluntad. Entonces es por eso que existe una resistencia o nace una resistencia a través de la policía comunitaria, donde las mismas personas de las comunidades al negarse a ser parte de estos grupos de forma obligada, hacen estas guardias comunitarias donde no puede accesar cualquier persona al pueblo. Y es ahí donde entra el papel de las mujeres. Cuando ellos hacen estas guardias comunitarias, ellas tienen entonces que estar proviendo los alimentos durante un año, porque los hombres están obligados a cuidar el pueblo, por decirlo de una forma. Entonces, sí están los hombres, sí son hombres indígenas, pero eso no quiere decir que están por voluntad propia en estos otros grupos.
Okay, I could do this translation. So what Gabby is telling us is, yes, there are people, indigenous people as well, in these criminal organized groups, but we should also understand why they get integrated into these groups. So what she's saying actually is that for many people, they are forced into these groups or they don't have any way to choose. And it's mostly men in this case that if they luckily don't become integrated in these groups, they can become part of guardias, which would be a certain unity, an entity that is actually responsible for both protecting like the area or the village, but also the food supplies. So that would be for example, in a year that you would have this kind of role. And therefore she also mentioned the specific role of women also in this part of the food supply chain. Muchas gracias, Gaby.
Si me permiten, tenemos 2 preguntas más, pero solo tenemos 10 minutos. Entonces, tal vez me voy a la última pregunta, que es de Luis. Thank you for all the panelists for sharing what you have shared. I would like to ask what you would say to the men who are listening this talk. What do you recommend that they do to show solidarity and be part of breaking the cycle of silence? Y la última pregunta sería, ¿qué es lo que ustedes creen que los hombres que están escuchando este webinar deberían hacer? ¿Qué les recomiendan para mostrar su solidaridad y ser parte de romper este ciclo de violencia? Ahora sí, cortito todas las 3, porque ya nomás nos quedan 3 minutos. Empezamos por Maru, tal vez.
Okay. Well, I think that we should tell men that being solidarity and being helpful and taking responsibilities at home and trying to live in harmony is a gift that he can get to give to himself. I heard, for example, in Sweden that they have the opportunity to live for about a year or so, and all those things that are being implemented give them the chance to see the different kind of world, a different kind of relationship. I think it's a win-win deal when both men and women participate together in the development of their lives and their families, and they that they are part, that they are equal people, equal to each other and rights, and they see each other as partners and not as competitors. It's like there. I would say that here in Mexico, this happens also because there is a lot of poverty and frustration and the lack of jobs and all that. And men are providers, so they have to be like that they have to respond to that many cases, and frustration is so high. And now it's the first time during this pandemic that mental health is being an issue, because that's what we need. But if we have other, as I think we work as a team, we can reach better results. We can have better lives, and I think we should invite men on board, because nobody can be really in favor of women being killed, being mutilated, being harassed, being mistreated. We're in the 21st century, and that has to end. We have to look to what we want to go to a new, more normality, and normality that includes rights and respect and love for everybody. I would say that.
Okay. Gracias, Maru. Gadi.
Sí, gracias. Pues respecto a esta última pregunta, yo lo único que sugeriría para los compañeros que nos escuchan es que ellos tienen que empezar a cuestionarse y a realizar sus propios procesos de deconstrucción, y sobre todo cuestionarse sobre las ventajas que ellos tienen para disfrutar la vida, y que estas ventajas están encima o sobre los mismos derechos de nosotras. Es lo único que yo les sugeriría.
Bueno. Mamanda, ¿puedes traducir tal vez?
Sure. Yeah, so what Gadi said regarding the last question was to all the men listening right now, is that they should reconsider their way of thinking, and also their deconstruction of their own masculinity, and also reconsider the privileges having to do with their opportunities in life, and also if these are like at cost of somebody else, or if these could be equal. These were her last thoughts. Y también quiero decir que el último comentario también decía muchas gracias a todas las panelistas y por todo lo que están compartiendo hoy noche. También.
Sí, y también se disculpa Norma Don Juan, que nos tuvo que dejar porque tenía una reunión urgente justamente ahora, y entonces no pudo permanecer hasta el final. Y como ya tenemos que ir cerrando, yo quisiera cerrar con el video que no pudimos ver al principio. Espero que lo podamos ver ahora. Y también, antes de eso, quisiera agradecer muchísimo a Gadi y a Maru que estuvieron con nosotras. Y vamos a seguir en contacto con ustedes también para seguir esta conversación. Entonces, comparto la pantalla, espero que funcione. Y vamos a ver. Vamos a ver si funciona. ¿Lo están viendo?
Sí, vemos tu pantalla.
Ok. Pero no. Yo no puedo. No. Creo que no. No, yo no.
Solamente por mientras, Gadi y Maru, también les quiero preguntar si también quieren que compartimos algo, como estamos pensando con Norma, por ejemplo, un hashtag o una alianza, también porque somos varios que estamos colaborando con esta charla, entonces también nos interesa mucho poder compartir una información, una charla que van a dar ustedes también. Entonces, si lo pueden poner en el chat, también sería
Sí.
muy útil para nosotros. Para
Ok,
compartir.
parece que ya funciona. A ver, vamos a ver. Hoy no.
Ok, muy bien. No, Edme, no está funcionando.
No está funcionando.
Si quieres compartirnos el enlace y después también podemos ver si nos funciona en nuestras computadoras tal vez.
Sí, discúlpenme, pero no sirvió.
No,
Ok. Y ahora lo tengo que cerrar. No, yo no lo puedo parar. Ay, Dios mío.
Bueno, también, well, lo voy a tomar en inglés primero. And we would like to thank everybody for participating today as well. And if you have any other questions, you are very free to write to any of us who's organizing the event tonight. I'm also representing the youth network of Chile Despertó. So if you have any question regarding other countries as well, or Chile, you're very welcome to write to me, or if you're interested about our group. And also this has also been a collaboration with Equidad de Género, which is a feminist organization in Mexico. So any questions about these collaborations, feel free to write. And also hope to see you more times when we do this webinar.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you to the participants. And see you the next time. Goodbye.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias a
Cuídense.
todas.
Thank you.
Chao.
Muchas
Bye.
gracias. Hasta luego.
Bye.